Hello, this is Red Chaos, and I'm reviewing episode 11 of My Hero Academia. This is going to be a big one. And now getting into the fight with Lemillion. So it starts off with Overlord basically saying that he has a permanent version of the drug. This time he has it in bullet form. Yeah, one of his assistants does tell him that he only has five available, and it took him almost a month to make them. So he's basically looking for a much bigger spot so we can make more bullets. Later, you get a flashback between Toga and Twice of how they spoke with the Yakuza headquarters earlier. In this flashback, they were still mad about what happened to one of their teammates, and they vowed not to tell the Yakuza about their quirks until one of the Yakuza, when wearing a black mask, basically forces them to confess about what happens to their powers. Moving on, the flashback does end on Mimic telling them how they would need to respect the Yakuza, which, if you look at the ending of the last episode, they did not do, and they continue to keep talking about how terrible the Yakuza is until Mimic goes insane, trying to kill both the heroes and the villains to prove the Yakuza's power. The villains, they actually at this point want the heroes to stop them as they continue to they continue to talk Mimic. Deku finds him in the wall, attacks him, and Eraser stops his quirk. He falls down and they end up defeating him. Million meets up with Overhaul and he demands he gives the girls back. Overhaul refuses, telling him that he will die here, walking away from him slowly. As Lemillion chases him, there are two villains that get in his way. One of them is Sloshed, who is able to change a person's equilibrium. It's a bit odd of how they would explain it, but essentially makes you dizzy and unorganized. And in the sense of one of the other guys that comes with him, he's able to get a confession out of Lemillion telling him what his quirk is. They both try to confuse him and almost make him question what he's fighting for. But unfortunately, it does not work, and Lemillion beats them both, finally catching up to Overhaul, knocking over one of his assistants who has the girl in his hands, and he takes the girls from him. Once Lemillion takes the girl from Overhaul, Overhaul immediately attacks. Lemillion is absolutely shocked at the fact that he would attack while he still has a small child in his hands. Overhaul tells him, though, that he does not care. That even if she breaks, he's the only one that could reassemble her, almost treating her as if she's a thing rather than an honest person. Even during that time, while he while he has the girl in his hands, he completely curses her, saying that she's a curse, saying that for many reasons that anytime she goes to other people, they die, and that all she does is ruin lives. Um, the scene just makes him look like a complete monster. Other than the fact that he's just gone out there, kidnapped. We don't know if he kidnapped a little girl, but he definitely does abuse her over and over and over again to make these bullets. And then afterwards, still just slamming her, saying of how terrible that she is and how much of a curse she is. Lemillion at this time is shocked that someone would say this to his own daughter, but he finally exposes that that was a lie, that he does not have a child. And from there, the fight continues on. As the fight continues, it becomes obvious that Lemillion is getting the upper hand. And the only way of how Overhaul's even getting any shots onto Lemillion is when he uses Ari as a bait, which he unfortunately had to drop to continue to get any advantage in the fight. He does that basically to get her out of harm's way, since many of his assistants, many of who Lemillion thought he knocked out, were still up and were still ready to attack. During the fight, Shigaraki does have a flashback to where he starts to change from being just a regular Yakuza member to essentially the villain Overlord. And it really puts into perspective on just the gaps with the generational gaps and the internal problems within the Yakuza, how he plans to fix it, and how the world has gone from the world of crime to the world of villains. And you can see that within this scene, as even before it starts, he says that he has abandoned the name Shigaraki, that he has gone from the person, the Yakuza leader Shigaraki, to the villain Overlord. Shigaraki gives the assistant the quirk stealing bullets to shoot Lemillion with. But unfortunately, the assistant knows that Lemillion can go through anything. So he finds a way of how to hit him. Instead of going after Lemillion, he goes completely after Ari. He takes the gun after Ari, Lemillion notices it, and Lemillion ends up getting shot. After he gets shot, Overhaul taunts him, claiming that he's powerless. Lemillion at this point does not know that his entire quirk is stolen, but he continues on fighting Overhaul, ending the episode. I gotta say, this is a great episode. Not just because of the fights, and as well as many of the storyline elements, as well as things finally going forward. But you did finally have a fight with essentially a definitive ending, because even though Lemillion is shown to continue on fighting and is shown to continue on moving on, you could definitely see that Overhaul now has the advantage with him being quirkless. But during the entire time, during the entire fight scenes, you could really see Lemillion's rage going on and on about, not just of how he regretted the girl, but how he essentially would do anything just to make that wrong right that he had with Deku so many days ago. Not only that, but it also makes Overhaul look like a complete and utter monster. The girl is afraid of him. Everybody is afraid of him. They make this guy look like he is a legitimate threat and that he can get things done. And one of the things is he did get things done. Essentially, Lemillion's power is lost. Yeah, he has not killed Lemillion, but his power is lost. And in a world with where quirks are essentially needed, if they do continue with or find no cure of how Lemillion can get his powers back, his quirk is gone forever. And judging by the fact that Overhaul has a couple body counts, one from the League of Villains, and now taking a big character's power, this guy looks like a character who can get things done. He looks like a legitimate villain, and it's great writing from the producers and the creators of the show. All right, this is Red Chaos. I am out, and I'll be back reviewing the next episode.